You're saying that your thoughts are what create your future. They are like invisible hands that shape your life, create opportunities, or limit you. If you don't take charge of your thoughts, your life will control you instead. The truth is, no one ever became great by letting negative thoughts run wild in their mind. If you want to achieve great things and transform your life into your best vision, you must completely and decisively break free from negative thinking. Negative thinking is like a prison, a self-made prison, so tricky that most people don't even realize they're the ones holding the keys. You've seen people with huge potential ruin their lives because they wouldn't guard their minds. They let fear become their constant companion, doubt their inner voice, and failure their identity. But you've also seen ordinary people achieve extraordinary success just by changing the way they think. And that, you believe, is the only difference between those who live with purpose and those who just drift through life. Your mind is like a garden. Your mind is like fertile ground. Whatever seed you plant will grow. If you plant fear, fear will multiply. If you plant anger, bitterness will take root. If you plant hopelessness, despair will be your harvest. But if you plant belief, faith will bloom. If you plant vision, action will follow. If you plant gratitude, abundance will start to flow. The problem isn't the soil, your mind. It's the seed, your thoughts. If your life has been producing bad results, it's not because you're cursed. It's because you've been planting the wrong thoughts. Negative thinking doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in quietly. It starts with a complaint, then a comparison, then a conclusion like I'm not good enough, I'll never have enough, or it's too late for me. Before you know it, you're living under a mental forecast that predicts rain even on sunny days. You wake up worried, expecting to fail, distrusting your ideas, and not pursuing opportunities. Not because you can't, but because you've been convinced that you shouldn't. But you're saying this can change, not through luck or circumstances, but through mastering the one power no one can take from you, the power to choose your thoughts. No matter your background, your bank account, or your age, you can decide what thoughts you will cultivate. And that decision, made with faith and followed with discipline, will transform your reality. Thought is the foundation. Understand this. Thought is the foundation of all achievement. Every building, every invention, every fortune ever created started as an invisible idea in someone's mind. That's where all transformation begins. If you let your mind be controlled by negativity, you cut yourself off from the source of all creativity, inspiration, and forward movement. Negativity isn't just unpleasant, it's dangerous. It stops your potential, blinds you to opportunities, makes the present miserable, and the future seem impossible. You cannot afford to be careless with your thoughts. You cannot afford to let negativity live freely in your mind. You must treat your mind like sacred territory. Guard it, protect it, clean it, feed it, discipline it. Because whatever you allow to stay there will take root. And once it takes root, it will start to shape who you are. And who you are, my friend, is your destiny. How to break free. So how do you break free? Awareness is the first step. You must become aware of your thinking patterns. Start observing your thoughts like a watchman on a tower. Notice what triggers your negativity. Is it failure? Rejection? Comparison? The moment you notice it, stop and say, this thought is not helping me. It's not aligned with who I'm becoming. Then, replace it with a new, empowering statement. I am learning. I am growing. I am building. I am on my way. Some might call this delusional, but you say it's divine because every great transformation starts in the unseen world of thought. You must learn to speak your vision until your mind believes it, until your body moves in harmony with it, until your life begins to reflect it. This isn't magic. It's mental discipline available to anyone who commits to it. Refuse to dwell on what you cannot control. Negative thinking thrives when you're frustrated, and frustration always comes from trying to manage something you can't control. You can't control others' opinions, the past, the weather, the economy, or other people's unpredictable behavior. But you can always control your response, and that response comes from your thoughts. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I turn this into an advantage?" Because in every difficulty, there's a seed of equal or greater benefit, but only if your mind is trained to look for it. The person who sees failure as feedback never gives down. The person who sees struggle as a way to get stronger will never be broken. The person who understands that thoughts become things will never again think carelessly. Immerse yourself in positivity, especially when you don't feel good. Your environment matters. The words you speak, the books you read, the people you spend time with, the voices you listen to, all of it becomes food for your mind. And your mind, just like your body, becomes what it consumes. If you feed it gossip, fear, and distractions, it will become weak, anxious, and confused. But if you feed it truth, vision, and possibility, it will become bold, focused, and unshakable. Every morning, start your day by feeding your mind with purpose. Read something uplifting, say something empowering, write something that clarifies your vision. This is how you take control of the day. Because if you don't command your mind, it will be commanded by whatever noise is loudest in the world around you. The inner battle. Your thoughts shape your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your actions. Your actions shape your results. And your results, when repeated, shape your reality. That's why the most important battle you'll ever fight isn't out there. It's in here, in the space between your ears. Win that battle, and the world will bend in your favor. You want people to see their mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. Every belief is a root. Every action is the fruit. If you plant negativity, you get doubt. If you plant faith, you get courage. If you plant purpose, you get power. So you ask, what have you been planting? And are you willing to dig up every root of fear, every weed of self-pity, every thorn of regret, and replace them with new seeds of hope, discipline, and belief? This isn't easy, but it's necessary, because nothing will change in your life until something changes in your mind. You can work harder, run faster, make more connections, but if your thoughts are poisoned, your progress will be too. Your outer life can only go as far as your inner life is willing to grow. Choose your thoughts, choose your destiny. So you challenge people to break free from the belief that their past defines them, from the lie that their fear is permanent, from the habit of doubting their greatness. Choose today to think in line with the person you are becoming, not the person you were. Because when you change your thoughts, you change your energy. When you change your energy, you change your direction. And when you change your direction, success starts moving toward you like a river flowing downhill. The world is waiting, not for a perfect version of you, but for a disciplined thinker, a conscious creator, a person who has chosen to rise above the mental noise and walk in power. That person is inside you, and it's time to wake them up. The person who masters their thoughts becomes a master of their world. Not because they control everything around them, but because they control the one thing that matters most: how they interpret, react to, and ultimately transform every experience into fuel for their mission. That is the secret. That is the turning point. When you stop allowing your thoughts to control you and you begin to control them, you are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the architect of your destiny. You must never underestimate the power of a single, strong thought. One idea held with faith, repeated with conviction, and pursued with relentless action can achieve more than 1,000 intentions never backed by belief. But you must also understand that the opposite is true. One negative thought allowed to live in your mind, unchecked, can ruin years of effort. One moment of internal doubt, if nurtured, becomes a habit, and the person with a habit of doubt has given up their power. The only difference between the person who creates and the person who collapses under pressure is how they think when things don't go their way. It's easy to be positive when everything is going well. But what happens when you fail? What happens when your plan doesn't work out? What happens when the world goes quiet and all you're left with is your voice? That voice, your inner dialogue, is either your greatest coach or your cruelest enemy. And you choose who it becomes every day, every moment, every thought. Mental immunity and speaking life. If you don't program your mind to speak life, the world will program it to speak limitations. You will absorb the doubts of others, the fears of society, and the negativity of the media, and you will begin to accept those as your own. But they are not yours unless you choose to claim them. You are not born to think small. You are not born to be afraid. You are not born to live at the mercy of your emotions or others' opinions. You were born to command your life, but that command begins in the mind, and the first command is this: I will no longer entertain thoughts that weaken me. I will no longer tolerate beliefs that diminish my worth. I will no longer think like a man who has no power when I am the creator of my future. You must become a mental gatekeeper. You must develop what you call mental immunity. Just as your body fights off disease, your mind must fight off destructive thoughts. You do this not with force, but with focus, with intention, with repetition, with unshakable standards. You decide what thoughts are allowed to live in your mind. And if a thought enters that does not serve your vision, you eliminate it immediately. You replace it. You override it with truth. This is not denial. This is design. You are not ignoring reality. You are shaping it. You are not pretending problems don't exist. You are refusing to empower them with your focus. Because where focus goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, results begin to appear. The best version of you. Start with this simple question: what would the best version of me think right now? Not the fearful version, not the tired version, not the wounded version, but the strongest, clearest, most determined version of yourself. What would he believe? What would he focus on? What meaning would he give to this moment? Ask yourself this daily. Let this be the compass that guides your thoughts. Because every day you wake up, life presents you with two options: to think in line with your vision or to think in line with your limitations. And whichever you choose will become your reality. This is not theory. This is fact. This is the law of belief. The law that says you will never achieve more than the thoughts you consistently think about yourself. The person who believes they are destined to fail will subconsciously act in ways that guarantee it. The person who believes they are worthy of success will move through the world with a different energy, and that energy becomes their invitation to abundance. This is why you say never allow a negative thought to stay permanently in your mind. Examine it, challenge it, replace it. Do not let it become who you are, because thoughts are like unwanted guests. They will stay as long as you tolerate them. But the moment you raise your standards, the moment you declare that you will only accept empowering beliefs into your consciousness, you begin to take back control, and control is the birthplace of freedom. Freedom is not simply the absence of external chains. It is the presence of internal mastery. It is the ability to feel fear and not give in to it, to experience doubt, but move forward anyway, to hear the voice of negativity and answer with a greater truth. That is freedom, and it belongs to the person who has trained their mind to serve them, not sabotage them. Your legacy. Now, you ask something else. How often do you speak life over your vision? How often do you affirm your goals with clarity, emotion, and repetition? Because what you say to yourself matters just as much as what you think. Words are thoughts made visible. Words are seeds. And if you plant powerful declarations consistently, you create a garden of confidence that no storm can destroy. Every day, you must declare who you are, not based on your past, but based on your purpose. Not based on your fear, but based on your faith. Declare it, speak it, live it. I am strong. I am focused. I am capable. I am chosen for a purpose. I am rising no matter what comes against me. This isn't empty motivation. This is neurological reprogramming. This is the mental conditioning that separates the person who wishes from the person who makes things happen. Do not wait for your circumstances to change before you change your thoughts. That is like waiting for a fire to start before you gather the wood. You must think differently first. The circumstances will follow, the opportunity will follow, the results will follow, but only after you begin to think like the person who already has them. This is the art of becoming, and you're saying something very few will say. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes constant watchfulness. You will not become a master thinker by accident. You must train every single day. You must be more committed to your mental strength than you are to your comfort, because negativity is comfortable. It's easy. It's familiar. But comfort is the enemy of growth, and your life will never expand beyond the limits of your thinking. You must want this enough to confront yourself. You must want it enough to change your patterns. You must want it enough to stop feeding your doubts and start feeding your destiny. You must say to yourself, no more. No more small thinking. No more playing the victim. No more letting fear write the script of my life. That chapter is over, and a new chapter begins with a new decision. That decision is this: I will become the thinker who commands results. I will become the believer who walks in faith. I will become the man whose thoughts are so powerful they alter the energy of every room he enters. Because when you think with purpose, you act with power. And when you act with power, success becomes unavoidable. It is not the person with the best ideas who wins. It is the person with the strongest mind, the mind that cannot be shaken, the mind that does not fold under pressure, the mind that does not betray itself with self-doubt. That mind belongs to you if you are willing to claim it. So build it every day with every thought, with every word, with every refusal to accept anything less than the mindset of a champion. Break free once and for all from the chains of negative thinking, because your mind is the gateway, your thoughts are the key, and your destiny is waiting. The architect of your destiny. The moment a person decides that they will no longer live under the weight of negative thoughts, their life begins to change. It doesn't change all at once, and it may not change in visible ways right away, but something inside of them shifts. Their posture straightens, their mind clears, and their energy sharpens. They become powerful, not to others, but to everything that once kept them small. And from that decision forward, they begin to live as a person who is no longer under the spell of fear, doubt, and limitation. This is the transformation you want for people. Not temporary motivation, not shallow inspiration, but a complete internal revolution, a full renovation of your inner world. You want thoughts to become so aligned with vision, so filled with purpose, that negativity simply cannot survive in your presence. Because when your thinking is clean, your spirit is unshakable. When your mind is fortified, no storm can collapse your foundation. You must understand something profound. You are not made to simply exist. You are not born to drift through life, reacting to circumstances. You were created with power, with intention, with the ability to think and choose and create a life worthy of your birthright. But that life cannot and will not emerge until you accept your responsibility to think with purpose. There is no neutral thought. Every thought is either pushing you forward or pulling you back. It is either moving you toward freedom or reinforcing your limitations. The person who realizes this begins to treat their thoughts as tools, not toys. They no longer entertain every feeling, every fear, every flash of self-doubt. They become the master of their emotional world, not the servant. When you break free from negative thinking, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop explaining your limitations. You stop making space for excuses, and you start walking in line with the person you were designed to be. Clear, focused, powerful, purposeful. That person does not speak like a victim. They speak like a visionary. They do not shrink in the face of resistance. They sharpen their mind and move through it. They do not complain about what they lack. They create with what they have. Negativity wants to tell you that you are not enough, that it's too late, that you've made too many mistakes, that you'll never become who you're meant to be. But that voice is not the voice of truth. It is the voice of the past, and as long as you listen to it, you will live there. But the past has nothing new to say. It can only replay the same old songs. And if you want a new life, you must change the station. You must tune into the voice of purpose. Purpose says you are still in the game. Purpose says your next move can change everything. Purpose says you were born for more. And when you feed that voice, when you meditate on that truth, when you repeat it until it becomes automatic, you will feel something rise inside you. That something is not motivation. It is memory. You are remembering who you are. You are remembering that you have the power to direct your life. And that memory is what breaks the chain. You do not need to fight negative thoughts with force. You need to outgrow them. And you outgrow them by feeding your mind with new truths, by stretching your vision, by surrounding yourself with new language, new standards, new possibilities. It is not enough to remove the weeds. You must plant something better in their place. You must replace every fearful thought with a faithful one, every weak assumption with a strong declaration, every excuse with a new expectation. This is the work, the real work, the silent work, the daily discipline of reprogramming your internal world so that your external world has no choice but to match it. You don't rise by accident. You rise by habit, by repetition, by constantly choosing belief over doubt, purpose over pain, action over hesitation. And the more you choose these things, the more natural they become. Soon, you won't even recognize the old you. He'll feel like a stranger, a shadow, a voice you no longer obey. Imagine waking up each day and immediately directing your thoughts like a commander on the battlefield. Imagine saying, "Today, I will think with power. I will speak with precision. I will act with clarity. I will not allow fear to drive my choices. I will not let negativity write the script of my life." That is how you begin to walk as a person of vision. That is how you begin to command success. The world does not reward those who complain the most. It rewards those who create, and creation begins with thought. Thought becomes imagination. Imagination becomes vision. Vision becomes strategy. Strategy becomes action. And action repeated with belief becomes results. So if you want different results, you must first think different thoughts. It sounds simple, but it is the root of all transformation. You cannot wait for perfect conditions. You cannot wait for everyone to believe in you. You cannot wait for your fears to vanish. The time is now. The place is here. The person is you. No more excuses, no more delays, no more rehearsing the worst-case scenario. You are too powerful for that, too called for that, too equipped. Start living like it. You must stop feeding your doubts and start feeding your dreams. And that begins with language. The words you speak to yourself matter. Stop saying, "I'm not good at this." Say, I'm getting better every day. Stop saying, this will never work. Say, I will find a way. Stop saying, I always mess things up. Say, I am learning. I am evolving. I am mastering this. Speak to yourself like someone who believes in your potential, because if you don't, who will? And you say something critical. The world responds not to who you are, but to who you believe you are. If you believe you are worthy, the world begins to open. If you believe you're capable, opportunity begins to notice you. If you believe you're valuable, people begin to treat you differently. But it starts with you, not with what you see, but with what you think. And when you finally believe deeply enough, consistently enough, long enough, your belief becomes reality. The person who transforms their life is not the person who never has negative thoughts. They're the person who refuses to give them power. They're the person who sees them, identifies them, and replaces them. They're the person who don't just want to be free. They choose to be free daily, intentionally, and that choice becomes their legacy. So, you ask, what will your legacy be? Will you be remembered as the person who allowed doubt to define them? Or as the person who looked fear in the face and said, not today? Will you be known as the person who lived in reaction, or the person who created on purpose? Will you leave behind the blueprint of survival or the blueprint of transformation? You have the power. You always have, and now is the moment to use it. Train your thoughts like a warrior trains his body. Push them, refine them, strengthen them. Don't just think positively. Think powerfully. Think purposefully. Think like the person you are becoming, and soon the world will treat you accordingly. You are one decision away from momentum, one belief away from clarity, one mental shift away from a new life. But that shift won't happen unless you make it happen. So, you challenge, no, you invite people to make a decision right now. A decision that says, from this moment forward, I will no longer be a servant to negative thinking. I will be the master of my mind. I will walk in truth. I will live in power. I will move with vision. And when the old thoughts try to return, and they will, you will greet them not with fear, but with awareness. You will say, I see you, I know you, but you no longer belong here. And you will replace them instantly with the thoughts of a person on fire for their purpose. A person who is too busy building to entertain doubt. A person who knows that transformation begins not in the hands, but in the mind. This is how you rise. This is how you build. This is how you break free. Think higher, speak stronger, move faster, live fuller, and never again. Never let a negative thought decide your future.